Yeah, what do
I'd
you
love to
think?
hear your pitch. I'd love to hear your pitch.
Yeah, it's interesting. Basically, they tell us a whole bunch of facts about Earth, right? They say that we're on a sphere, they say that we're in space, and there's a million billion planets, and blah, 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 blah. They teach us all this stuff growing up.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at trying to prove what they're saying as true, it becomes very difficult. Because, for example, they say that Earth, they say they know the size of Earth. They say that it's a 3,959 mile radius sphere, basically. So
Okay.
that's the mainstream's number. If you go to Google spherical geometry, you can basically figure out how far should I be able to see on this sphere.
Uh-huh.
Rather, at what rate does the sphere curve? Because if you picture yourself as a little mini person on top of a little mini ball, you can't see what's under the ball from your perspective. Things that are too far away from you on a sphere would be beyond the curvature of it, right? Beyond the curvature of the globe.
Oh.
Sorry, I know it's a lot while you're clutching. But
Sorry, no, you're good.
I'm over explaining it too, but it's very simple. There's only so far you can see on Earth. They say if you Google it, the mainstream
Uh-huh.
teaches that from 6 feet high off the ground, so let's say an
Yeah.
average man, you can see 3 miles. That's the physical limit. You're not supposed to be able to see beyond this 3 mile limit. So when I go to the ocean, when I see hundreds of people retesting this stuff, they're called curvature tests, we're able to see
Uh-huh.
10 times further than that, 12 times further than that, 15 times further than that. There's one where it's as simple as this, okay? Imagine a lake, it's 20 miles long. I'm at one end of the lake, you're at the other end of the lake. You're standing up and you're shining a laser forward, and it's hitting me in the eyes because I'm on the other side of the lake, standing up tall, like there's no curvature of the earth ever. We can't find it anywhere. We're out there trying to prove it's a globe, and it's not. So it's like then it turned into this whole movement basically called flat earth, which is not necessarily saying that we know the definite shape of the earth. It's saying that what they told us is provably not true. And then we start looking into the high level science for like, what are the mainstream proofs that we're even moving through space? Because the default experience the human body experiences is that it's motionless 24/7, right? We don't feel like we're moving at all. And then when you look into the speeds that they say we're moving, it starts to get ridiculous. Like all this stuff that I never really considered, that I just thought was automatic. Like here's one for sure. Satellites in space. They say that we have 10,000 satellites in orbit right now. They're basically spinning around Earth. But when you look up what's the speed of orbit, it's 18,500 miles an hour. So they're going at 19K miles an hour. All of these satellites, they're up in quote unquote space, something they're calling the quote unquote thermosphere, where it gets to like plus 2,000 degrees, okay? Because you're in space. There's no atmosphere to protect you from the sun or anything like that. Like this is according to the mainstream. They say that they're
Okay.
up there. And their satellites in 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, bro. And you're telling me they don't need any sort of maintenance, they never malfunction, they're not even on solar batteries. And yet they're just like I just don't believe that shit anymore. None of us have ever seen a satellite with our own eyes. It's just,
That's fair.
it's stuff that they tell us about, right? And it's
Uh-huh.
fun to speculate. It's fun to speculate. Here's another big one for me on my whole journey of trying to learn more about Earth and stuff. They say they taught me in school personally. They probably taught you the same thing, that they know what's in the core of the Earth. They said that in the center of the Earth, responsible for generating its magnetic field, there's like they say that there's an iron sphere in the middle of Earth, nice clutch, and it's surrounded by
Thank you.
lava. And there's layered. There's the inner crust, the outer crust, the inner mantle, whatever. All these fucking layers of the Earth, right?
Yeah,
They say that they know what's down 4,000 miles deep. That's how long it takes to get to the center of the Earth. 3,959 miles. So 3,959 miles.
Okay.
And yet, when you look at the world record for the longest, deepest hole ever dug, the deepest hole any human has ever dug under any circumstance, 7 miles, 7.8 miles. It's called the borehole in Russia. So at that point, it makes me wonder, man, how can they know what's 3,952 miles deeper than anyone has ever dug? Especially when you look into the borehole in Russia, they were
Mhm.
wrong in their predictions of what they would find in the first 7.8 miles. It was hot where it was supposed to be cold in the earth. It was wet where it was supposed to be dry where they predicted. So it's like they couldn't even get the first 7 miles right. And now I have to believe, for some reason, that they know what's 4,000 miles deep. It's just like it becomes this point where you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of speculation going on here instead of like this shit being figured out. When I was a kid, they told me like this is figured out. This stuff is science. The science is absolute. The science is how you get the answers. Anyways, they tell you all this shit, and I'm just kind of at that point where I'm like, I don't believe it anymore. It doesn't make sense to me personally, and I'm at the point where I'm comfortable enough in what I know that that's enough for me. I don't give
Yeah,
a fuck
that's
what
fair.
scientists think, right? At the end of the day, we're all sovereign beings. You can all use what you think at the end of the day. So it's like when I really looked into all of the mainstream stuff, I realized they're lying to us. They're lying to us. The average person, if you ask them, do they trust the US government? They're going to say no, probably. Most people kind of know the government is evil or at the very least misleading, probably taking money that they shouldn't. To some level, most people are not like, I love the government, like that, you know? And yet,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are responsible. Like NASA, for example, is a US government agency. They own the telescopes, they own the James Webb Space Telescope, they own the Hubble telescope. All the telescopes are owned by the government. So if you on Earth want to verify any of the stuff they say about these faraway, whatever, galaxies, clusters, whatever, you can't do it. The telescopes from Earth don't show you what the telescopes from space show you. Because we have to look through atmosphere, and allegedly they don't. That's why they can see way further, allegedly, like blah, 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 blah. They have this whole lore as to, you know, but that's just a fact. You just have to trust. Whether, even if you're a quote unquote space scientist, you get your numbers from NASA, you get your models from NASA, you just assume that it's right. What are you going to do? You're going to make a telescope and you're going to put it in space yourself and you're going to whatever. No, man, you do what everyone else does. You just assume, you just go to work and do your job, right? They tell you, oh, this shit came in from NASA, or run it through the computer. Like, so it's not that everyone is so evil and everyone is lying to us. It's just that at the source of all this information, I think we are being misled. I really do. To the point where, like, let's say the NASA moon missions, I don't think we ever landed men on the moon. I don't think we ever landed men on the moon. It's this thing I had heard of my whole life. I've seen it in fiction. I've seen it referenced and talked about and whatever. I had never actually seen the 1972 Apollo moon landing for myself. So
That's fair.
once I saw it, I was like, something in me was just like, I have a BS detector. When someone says something, it's not quite, you know, I have to say something. When I'm being lied to, it kind of pisses me off. That's like the one thing. So there's something in me when I saw the moon landing footage, I was like, this is a lie. Like I can just tell. Before I was even into any of this stuff, I was a total, you know, I didn't know any of this stuff. I just had seen the moon landing for myself, and it looked so fake to me that I just couldn't ignore how fake it felt. So I said, you know what, I gotta look into this more. And then the whole story about the moon landing is insane. Like it's actually
Fair enough.
crazy. They allegedly went in the 70s, then they said they destroyed the technology to go back. This is a verbatim quote from NASA astronaut Don Petit. He said,
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
like, what the fuck do you mean, bro? Oh, you destroyed all the blueprints, all the whatever, all the blueprints for the lunar module, everything, all of the proof that they even went, they got destroyed somehow. It's called telemetry data. So all of the information when they were going to the moon, there were supposed to be trackers inside the lunar module that were tracking its speed and its position, and it was giving updates to the people on Earth. And all of that data was lost as well. So basically, anything that could be considered proof that they actually went to the moon got destroyed. And now, 70 years later, with all this money that they're making and all of these progresses in our technology, we can't go back 1/1000th of the distance to the moon. Which is like, even if you love space and you love NASA and you love everything that they tell you in the mainstream, even if you believe it all, we objectively can't go back 1/1000th of the distance to the moon. So it's like, we suck, bro. We're noobs at space travel and stuff. And yet, you know, Elon Musk is saying we're gonna put people on Mars. We're gonna put, like, come on, bro. Even Elon Musk's rockets 3 weeks ago, they're blown up at like plane level, which is like not that high up. So then it just turns into this whole thing. If you don't trust that, if they're lying about the moon landing, they're still lying about it to this day. What else are they lying about? And if they could lie to us about something like that, like what else could they lie to us about? And then it gets into this kind of scary part where it's like, I don't know, man. My whole life, it's just people telling me stuff, right? They just tell you, this is what happened in World War I. This is what happened in World War II.
Yeah.
This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. This is, you know, and you're just a kid. We're literally all have the same experience. We're all born a kid with no memories, no knowledge. You just get told this is the way the world works. You're gonna go to school, you're gonna learn whatever. They're gonna teach you, blah blah blah. They teach you the way of the world. You know better. I didn't know better. I was a kid. I said, okay, I'm 5 years old. They're telling me, oh, you're actually on a ball, and the ball is spinning really fast, and blah blah blah. Your water is sticking to it, even though it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and it's being upheld by gravity or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know better, bro. They tell me Einstein figured it out. He was a genius. But then I grew up, bro. Einstein's a whole nother rabbit hole. Einstein was a fraud. He couldn't even get into school because he couldn't pass the entrance exams. Einstein worked at the patent office, like the literal place you had to go to patent your scientific research and stuff. He literally stole the idea of relativity. There's a book actually called 100 German Scientists Against Einstein. You can literally Google that and the word PDF. You'll pop the book. All the modern scientists at the time were like, this guy came out of nowhere. He starts rewriting basically our science that is established into like this weird shit. Einstein came along and he said, actually, the stars are basically infinity far away. That's what he's basically started proposing, and everyone was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? You know, he's like, and we'll never know because as you get closer to it, the light will shrink. And he starts talking about all this shit, and what the fuck is he talking about? Everyone thought he was crazy, and yet the mainstream sources picked him up because the whole system is owned and compromised, and they were in the process of like rewriting basically the lore. This whole idea that we're in outer space, they say, okay, here are some simple facts. Let's just say, trust your body over a scientist. I'm kind of rambling a bit. Let's refocus.
You're okay.
Let's refocus. There's a couple simple things for me that I cannot deny are just make too much sense. Okay, for one, the constellations. Okay, we have thousands of years ago, our ancestors mapped out the night sky. They saw that at the same time of the night, the stars were in the same place at the same time every single night. So they started drawing them. And they noticed that over the years, the stars are very, very slowly ticking on a clock, like a clock, basically. And so they mapped out the whole night sky and all the constellations, and we still use them to this day. Everyone knows like their star sign, Capricorn, Gemini, whatever. Doesn't matter. We think that shit's kind of stupid and astrology is kind of stupid, but the fact is that our stars are shaped in a certain pattern. They're arranged in the night sky, and that has never changed ever for all recorded history. So they say in space, though, they're saying that we're moving at 1.4 million miles an hour. And actually, those stars are moving at millions of miles an hour. In all of these crazy directions, space has no sort of logic to it. They say it's completely non-uniform, the way that it's moving. So everything, ever since the Big Bang, is flying in all these crazy directions. And yet, again, for all recorded history, our constellations have not changed. The stars are the same place every night. Understand that they say that, oh, well, they are changing, but it takes tens of thousands of years. But, like, come on. They don't have tens of thousands of years of data, right? It's just that they quote-unquote say it's moved a millimeter, and then that proves that it's moving at all, which means that, wow, we can calculate it super duper far, but it's not true at all. Again, it's just speculation. Another big one for me is Polaris. We have a very special star, a star that's more special than all the other stars because it never moves. The whole night sky is ticking like a clock, but there's one star that never moves ever. As in, if you can go there and pull up a chair under Polaris, the North Star, which, by the way, all of our compasses point to it, like it's got this weird magnetic attraction. It's almost as though the world wants us to know about Polaris or something under Polaris, or I don't know. That's fun to speculate about, but I really don't know because we're not allowed to even travel there, actually. The U.S. government has literally signed something called the Antarctic Ice Treaty. They have virtual tripwires, basically, around all of our continents, and they don't allow us to travel this Earth, which is like insane and sad because, I mean, it's our Earth, bro. We're literally all beings of Earth, you know? No man should be able to tell you, you can't go here, especially we're not talking private property. We're talking, I just want to explore the place that I live. And they don't let us do that. They say, oh, we explored it for you. And there's nothing there.
That's
Anyways,
fair.
there's a star called Polaris, our North Star. It never moves. It hasn't moved for all recorded history, actually. And it is still not moving today. It's not going to move tomorrow. So it's like, to me, anyone that starts saying, actually, you're moving and blah, 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 they have to address this, right? So then what's the mainstream response to Polaris? They say, well, it's moving at the same speed that Earth is moving, at the exact same direction, exact same speed, exact same. So it's never going to appear like it's moving, but it is moving at 1.4 million miles an hour. It's like, Come on, man. And then when you look into the actual high level proof, all the stuff the astrophysics or physicists are saying, like, it's just not all there, bro. It's speculation at best. Again, it's back to speculation, which is fine. If men want to speculate about, I think this is up there and this is up there, that's fine. But it's when you're teaching kids about this as though it's facts and misleading them, and you're teaching them that actually there's a billion trillion planets and Earth is just one of them and it's super meaningless. They literally taught me verbatim. This is what they taught me about Earth, that we're on what is essentially a meaningless speck of dust. That's what they said. They said that space is so big that I'm one speck of dust, and that everything we know, everything we can see in all the faraway cosmos is like one grain of sand on one beach, and there's a whole world, and there's a whole, like that's the scale that they try to say of how small and fucking pointless we are. But in reality, if Earth is the center, it's very special. If Earth is in a unique or special place, that means someone must have put us here. I know it's weird because it's getting religious or whatever, like, what do you mean? But it's just a fact. What we see when we're looking at Polaris, okay, here's the facts. We have a star that never moves, everything ticks around it. If you look at a Polaris time lapse, you can see exactly what I mean. It's like looking at a clock. Literally, the whole night sky is ticking in a 24-hour clock around Polaris, which means that we are the center of space. When you actually you don't listen to the scientists and you only listen to what your body, you're going to reach the same conclusion that all of the previous civilizations reached. Keep in mind that they thought it was flat for 1500 years, like it was a model, and it still works today. So there's a flat Earth model. It's called the Ptolemy model, Ptolemy, Ptolemy model, and it's basically, it can describe the seasons, it can describe the way the sun and the moon are on perfect. So it's like this idea that, oh, the globe model is the only one that works is a total lie. So if Earth is the center, that means someone must have put us here. And that changed me, man. That changed my whole life around, because I grew up and I was agnostic and I was atheist. I thought that, how can you believe in God? There's so many religions. What are the odds that just one is true? Blah, 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 blah. There's no prophets. There's no miracles. That sounds like some cope, is kind of what I thought to myself. But to me, it turned a lifelong atheist overnight, the second I accepted it, and I found out that it's just true, bro. Earth is the motionless center of the universe. We have a sun and a moon, and they literally serve us. They've taught us all these lies about the moon. Why did they lie about the moon landing? Why they gotta lie about what it even is? They want us to believe it's a rock. They say that it's not even that you have to believe it's a rock. They say it is a rock because we went there and we walked on it and blah, 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 blah. But then when you look into that, it's a fucking lie. Because why? Because they can't land on it. It's like landing on the sun, bro. It's a light in the sky. And you realize everything has a purpose. Everything on Earth has a purpose. The sun and the moon are the same size on Earth to us. When you go outside and you look at the moon with your eyes, it's roughly the same size as the sun. The mainstream will say, well, that's actually called the 400-400 miracle. The sun is 400 times further away. We measured it. And it's 400 times bigger. We measured it. Right? They say that the sun is 92 million miles away. That's what it says on Google. But it's like, what the fuck does Google know, bro? You don't know the name of the experiment. You don't know the name of the scientist that did it. You don't know if they're trustworthy. You don't know, it's just assumptions. We just live our whole life, and I'm not blaming anyone if you trust Google and the top result of Google. I did that my whole life because that's the way they set us up to, right? That's the way they set us up to in school and stuff. That's how Google gets you the right answers in school. So therefore it must know. It's like the collective knowledge of mankind, like blah, blah, blah. They've pictured, it's just a set of data owned by a group of humans. They can put whatever the fuck they want in there, and they do. So when you just kind of, I don't know, start rebelling against that, and the whole world ends up being fake, you really look into beyond just the space thing. Evolution, this idea that there used to be cavemen, and the proof is that they found fossils of the cavemen. They said, holy shit, it's like us, but it's different. Then you look into that, though, all of the fossils that they have found are hoaxes. There's so many hoaxes around the whole caveman thing, Homo sapien, trying to date people. They don't have the sophistication to date rocks and bones and stuff. They really don't. There was this one group of people. They sent 3 different rocks to 3 different universities to get them radiometrically dated. One university says the rock is 60 million years old. The other university says the rock is 200 million years old. So it's like, how the fuck are you wrong by 140 million years, bro? That's pretty fucking, I thought it's a science, bro. I thought you're reaching the truth, right? but it shows me that there's a bit of speculation here. You guys are just guessing based on, oh, it has this much wear and this much this and blah 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 blah. Whatever the fuck it is. I don't doubt they have some system to age stuff. I'm just doubting how accurate it is.
That's fair.
So I just can't go by this speculation of other man. And then it really goes into like what they told us about World War One and World War II is like provably full of lies. A lot of our history is full of lies. We're basically owned by a group of people, a cult, a secret society that has owned basically the whole world for thousands of years, and they've made this idea that there's different countries and the countries can't get along and blah 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 blah. They fed us this whole narrative. And the group is called Freemasons, by the way. I'm not gonna leave you on a cliffhanger. It's literally basically, okay, there's mafias. Every group of people has their elite mafia, essentially. So for example, the Japanese have the Yakuza, the Chinese have the Triads, the Italians have the mob. The Jewish people have the Freemason. It's basically their like secret society, their cult, they have a bunch of rituals, and they run everything. They run the banks. They run politics. They run the governments. They run the military. You look, George Washington was a Freemason. Literally. On George Washington's tombstone, it says Freemason and First President. So these guys are super influential. They're literally all over the place. You look into like the Queen of England. What was there before the Queen of England? There was literally like Lord Rothschild, the Freemason. It's like this group of people literally controls everything. They control our access to the internet, what sites we can go to, what's on the radio, what's on TV. They own Hollywood. Like, so basically all the sources we get info about reality and stuff, like the things we use to form what we call reality, comes from these people, and they have an agenda. Imagine if you hypothetically were an evil warlord and you were evil and you wanted to brainwash everyone, and you could control their internet and their TV and their radio and the textbooks. Like, you could lie about anything, bro. Until you were a couple years old, you believed Santa was real. Again, I'm not saying that makes you stupid. I'm saying that's just how it works, bro. We're born with nothing. We don't know anything. We're taught the way the world works by the people around us, and we just assume it to be true. It's a very profound quote. It's very simple, but it's very true, okay? It goes, humans accept reality the way it's presented to them. And it's as simple as that. So when you're a kid and they teach you, we guarantee that this is true, you're spinning on a ball, you're in infinite space, blah, blah, blah. And then you spend your whole life watching movies. Keep in mind, before every movie, there's the Universal Studios logo. It shows the globe spinning. Before every news broadcast, there's the globe imagery. It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. It's everywhere. It just kind of internalizes and it becomes real to you, even though it's just some shit on a screen, man. We spend so much time on screens, we've started to think that reality comes out of the screens. And when we go outside, it's not true. There's a star that doesn't move, bro. They have us to the point where we don't even believe our own senses. We believe what the scientists say. The scientist says you're moving right now, but when you're in bed at night, you're chilling in bed, bro, you're not moving. Your body is actually incredibly good and super perceptive at detecting motion. The slightest bit of motion, actually. So the fact that they say that you're actually, well, Earth is spinning really fast, and Earth is orbiting the sun really fast, and Earth is actually flying through space. The solar system is moving through space as well. And carrying, like, they say that we're moving in all these places, all these speeds, but you just wouldn't feel it. They say, oh, it's like being in a car, bro. You don't feel it when you're in a car, but like, you feel it when the car turns. So that falls apart completely. And the car is an enclosed space. Earth is not. The wind would be like hitting us of us moving, but they say there's nothing. There's no wind. But I mean, long story short, you should be relieved, though, that this shit is all lying to you, because everything they tell you about space is some bullshit-ass lie about why you gotta be scared. Some world-ending asteroid, some alien invasion. Aliens, that's a quick one. Everything we know about aliens comes from the military. Everything we know about space comes from the government. The military is the government. NASA is the government. The aliens come from outer space. They control the access to both of those places. Aliens aren't true. They've had UFOs for like 70 years. In fact, they've had free energy for like 70 years because this world is amazing. God literally is an insane, intelligent designer. We're actually in a sea of electricity. It's like insane. You can actually set up a generator to the sky and free energy is raining down on us 24/7. I know that sounds crazy and it's like, well, why haven't they done it yet? You're not like, it's true. It's 100% true. Just think about it. We already have stuff like wireless charging on phones. How does it even work, bro? Wireless charging. You can wirelessly put electricity into a battery so that it can, like, you know, wirelessly function. It's because there's this whole world of electricity around us.
Last player standing.
Humans are electric beings, actually. The way your brain works is electricity. Anyways, GG guys, sorry we lost.
GG's. Have a good
But,
one.
yeah, watch Level. It's a documentary on Flat Earth. Level, 2021.